All right, we're live. Some technical difficulties are out of the way between you and I. It's always the case when we do it for the first time, something has to go wrong, doesn't it?
Oh, of course, but this is the beauty of doing things live as well. You get
Exactly right.
little things thrown at you, but that's all right. We're fine. We're here.
Exactly
We're
right.
good.
Matt, we are here. Paulie, Joey. This is a new dynamic duo that's hit the airwaves, I think, quite frequently over the last week, and I think people are liking it. So Terry's given us the privilege of co-hosting the Monday show for the 22nd of Jan. Very warm welcome to everybody. Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Joey, how are you, mate?
3 of the last 4 days, I think, I've recorded with you.
You're getting
It's
sick of me yet?
unbelievable. It's no, it's good. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been good, but yeah, it's nice to be here tonight. Terry sends his warm regards to the chat. He said he's about to get his ass kicked at day 2 of Muay Thai training. So yeah, I'd much rather be here than there. I can tell you that.
I think so as well. Yeah, he said I was watching his day 2. He copped a nice whack just above the eye. So apparently it woke him up. So while we're in the comfort of our own homes watching this either via TV or smartphones or wherever you get all this, he's going to be getting absolutely belted. So ab attack, they reckon.
That's fine.
Is what he's copping. So.
That's fine.
Let's welcome in the chat, shall we? Who have we got? We've got Beachy, we've got Baggers of Flaggers 24, we've got Jeff, we've got Luca, we've got Sars, we've got Julie, we've got Christian, we've got Annette, we've got Bridget. They're all there. So good evening to you all, wherever you're listening or watching. It's been a very interesting week, hasn't it? We're going to get through. We'll get through our training update, which we posted for those who haven't watched it. Make sure you go and watch it after this. We're going to go through fan base mentality and accountability, which is something that you and I spoke about on the podcast we did at SEN a few nights ago. For those wondering, they can go check that out on the SEN Overnight Crowd Spotify, which was a great listen and a great chat. And then we're going to get into some audience Q&A and then just general chit chat about what's to come for 2024. We're a month away from our first practice game, officially a month away until we get to see the boys out there.
It's come so quickly, eh? It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that extended season last season extended for us because we've gone that deep. It just shortens off season, and then plus the earlier start, longer season this season. Like the off season's been as short as I can ever remember. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, it's absolutely flown through. I feel like this has been the quickest one that we've darted our way through. I think it's because we're so eager for the season to start for the first time in a long time, just based on wanting the momentum to continue from last year. So it's how many training was packed the other day?
Mate, there would have been 3,000 people there.
Easily. Yeah. It's never been so. Those and we were saying it in the training update video. Those training sessions that we usually had pre-Christmas and post-Christmas, you would usually get at most maybe 200 people, something like that. Now we're getting, now we're getting upwards of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. It's incredible.
There's an energy around the club that I have never ever experienced in my life. No. It's plain and simple, and I think many of us have never experienced it, and the ones that have, it's been a long time. Been a very, very long time since this sort of a vibe. Whenever you go to Icon Park or whenever you talk to anyone that's a supporter or affiliated with the club, like there's just this energy that is brand new, and it's unbelievable.
Oh, it's absolutely insane. I think it's always something we've dreamt about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially sort of from our age and below. I think that 30-year-old or below age bracket has never really experienced anything like, even, Terry, who's, sort of 31, 32, even up to 35, those who sort of witnessed 95, who are 35 now, you're not really ingrained in it as much as you probably would be now, if that makes sense. It's not a memory that's just going to come straight off the top of your head where you can talk about exactly where you were and what you did. So there's a whole generation that's waiting with bated breath for us to go all the way for as long as possible. So how that all plays out, we don't know. But I've never seen training sessions in the off season for any club packed the way it's been with us. I've never seen it. Never seen it. Maybe that's just my ignorance, but I've never seen anything like it at an AFL club.
Yeah, and like I said, I think, harping back to how short this offseason feels like it's been.
Yeah.
I remember last year, so coming into 2023, after that 2022 loss to the Pies, I remember it just felt so long. Like it just dragged on and it dragged on. It was like, just get us to round one, get us there. And it just dragged. Yeah. And I feel like the fact that as a fan base, we came out of 2023 with a sense of contentedness for the first time.
Yep.
We're eager, but we were sort of satisfied for a long time in this offseason. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's the first time. It's actually the first time for like that first month, especially after the season finished, that I was just like, I don't want to know about footy. Like, I need a break, because that was a lot this year. And it's really only been since about Christmas that I've started to itch to get this season underway. So yeah, and then obviously that feeds into what you see at training. Everyone's just eager now. We want to see them. We want to see what this group can do, because we'll continue with the training update. This is going to lead us into a conversation we're going to have a little bit later about mentality going into this season, because as Carlton supporters, this generation especially, every year at work, pre-season, we always say, oh, this is the year. This is the year. Has to be the year. Has to be the year. Just out of pure blind faith and hope.
Of course.
There's actual expectation now. Like, this is it. They've shown us. It's not just like we think they can do it. They've shown us that they can do it. So the expectation, this is all time going into this year. This is the most anticipation I've ever felt for a season for this club.
It's been, and I know I keep using it, but the evidence-based optimism, it's finally bearing fruit out on the field. All the hopes, all the desires, all the talent that we've acquired over the last 7 to 8 years is finally gelling and finally starting to put together performances and results on the field that we can all be proud of. So it's the reason why there's 4,000 to 5,000 people rocking up to training every single time we get an open training session this preseason. So let's get into the training update and get stuck into what you and I saw. Now we had an idea as to what was going on out there. We were probably recording the training update. They were probably about halfway through the match sim and session, and we probably had the best moment caught on camera with Charlie Shanker, which is great. But let's talk about Charlie, shall we? It was a hot topic for us in our podcast that we did a few nights ago, and the simple fact of the matter is that he's probably getting better.
Yeah, and you mentioned the podcast at the start, but I'll just reiterate: if you haven't, Overnight Crowd, Spotify, SEN, Paul, myself.
Honestly, it's one of the best podcasts I've done. Seriously. And I'm not just saying that. It's one of the best I've done.
It was good fun. Yourself, me, Dan, Jules. Like, it was nice, and it was good for us to get our podcast season underway, because that's basically kicked it off for us. We're starting up proper this coming Sunday, but if you haven't, go check it out, Spotify. Charlie, just mate. Realistically, I think there's more of a chance that he does go back to back to back in the Coleman than him not going back to back to back in the Coleman at this rate. He looks ridiculous. I know it's only training, but my God.
Of course.
He was taking the piss. It was like he was playing against boys out there.
I think it's always the case when he plays now. And it's an interesting one too, because of the way he finished the season. And there's been a bit of talk about him not performing well in the final series, but it's his first ever final series. It's the first time he's ever had to face the pressure of it. He wasn't that bad. But we've kept saying, and I'm adamant, that he is going to be the person who's hardest on himself, I think. And that is going to lead, I think that's going to lead him into having an even better season than what he did last year.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And this is now, you made a really good comment on the podcast actually about like ACLs, right? So there's two seasons after an ACL, right? So there's the season that you come back and get through, and then it's the season after, right? This is essentially the same for Charlie. This is his second full preseason after that 2.5 years out of the game, whatever it was. This is now like him at 100%. Like, you know, this is it. And what is he, 26?
27 this year, I think. He'll be 27.
Like yeah,
think of his powers. A lot of those blokes have got, 7-8 years left in the league, really.
Yeah, but this is where key forwards really hit their prime. Like, we're talking about a guy that kicked 81 goals last year, and he's now coming into what the typical window is for a key forward to really take the competition by storm.
Of course.
And he looks as fit as he's ever looked. He looks as big as he's ever looked. He looks as dominating as he's ever looked in what we've seen from training.
Yep.
This could be something. This could be a very, very special year that we witness from this type of a player.
Yeah, he was top 5 in the time trial as well, the 2KO, upon returning from the Christmas break. So he looks primed for another massive year. I think he was one of the standouts at training. There was another name that got mentioned, and I saw there were a few comments, and a few people mentioned him on Twitter, and a few people mentioned him through comments on training highlights. Monahan, the Irishman, who, I mean, I know it's training, but he seems to have found a home. He doesn't look to be a fish out of water or anything like that. So, I mean, I'm not expecting him to do great things or create miracles or anything like that, but he's just another addition into the team where we've taken no risk. And he's one of these guys that I think, just with the way in which the father-son and the way all these academy recruits are working, you've got to try and find bits and pieces of talent elsewhere without spending a hell of a lot of cap space and draft space and whatnot. And I think Monahan fits the bill there. So I don't think he's going to be an absolute standout or anything with regards to playing AFL this year, but you just don't know. I've liked what I've seen. He's very athletic. He seems to know what he's doing with ball in hand.
I mean, we've done pretty well with Irish recruits in the past, Tui and Byrne in particular. Yep. But yeah, he looks like he settled in pretty quickly. To be honest, he was highly touted coming out of Ireland. So, you know, if he can integrate himself quickly, I've got no doubt on his skill with ball in hand. That's you know, the majority of them that come across, they're usually pretty good straight off the bat. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. I mean, we're going to have injuries throughout the year, right? So he might get his chance.
Of course.
He might get his chance at some point, and you never know. You never know.
I think that the one thing I wanted to look at with a player like him as well is that when the team is going well, a player like that, their early deficiencies can be not hidden, but they can be alleviated and they can be mitigated up to a certain point. Whereas there's not going to be, if the team starts flying along and keeping up the momentum of the back end of last season, it might be easier for him to hit his straps at VFL level and potentially come in to the team and do a job if he needs to. So I want to see them start to give players like that an opportunity, because it's not about throwing games away or anything like that. But like I said, with Ashton Moyer and Billy Wilson, who we'll get onto in just a moment, I'd be happy if they just played round one and the coach just said, look, you're young players. We want to give you this exposure and experience at the level in one of the toughest away games for the season. So have a go, lads.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Let's get on to Billy Wilson, who I tweeted about during the training session. There's a passage of play. Were we recording, or we might have been setting up?
No, we were recording.
He glided his way through the middle and hit up Harry with a lace-out ball. And look, I've got him ahead of Ashton Moyer with regards to a debut. And Nick Austin and the recruiters are really adamant that he is going to bring, and this is what they've used, a point of difference to our midfield. He's training with the midfielders. That's what they stated as soon as he came into the club. And he is a completely different midfielder and has a completely different skill set to the majority of midfielders. We've got his slight. He's probably the most agile of the lot, and he's very, very quick ball in hand as well.
He was very impressive, and it was only one passage of play. There was only one passage of play that really stood out. But I'll tell you what, when you can stand out as an 18-year-old, regardless of how many times you stand out at training, you know you've got something special. So I wouldn't be surprised if he debuts early. I said this on Friday prior to even looking at the match sim. I think his body's ready. His skill with ball in hand is exactly what we need. He's going to be being so young and wanting to prove himself, you put him into a team like ours where we're only going to improve and the ball movement's only going to improve. He's just going to take those risks and he's going to take the game on. And to be honest, it's what I want to see early in the season, because you don't want to see that late in the season where it's like, well, we can't afford to take sort of risks like that.
Yeah.
You want to see it early on, right? And if it comes off, it comes off, and you start to build on that confidence. If it doesn't, so be it. You gave him a crack, and that's it. Go back to the VFL and play trade. So I'm almost convinced we'll see Billy Wilson very, very early in this season.
Yeah, and there were a few people saying he doesn't have the frame yet. Does Ollie Hollands have the frame?
I don't know who's saying that, because if you see this kid up close, I've seen him up close. He is lean, man, and he looks strong. Like, he looks really, really strong.
And that's where it goes back to functionality, right? So it would look like the role he's going to play with his speed and agility. If he puts on 6, 7, 8 kilos, he's going to lose that.
Yeah, you lose it.
Yeah. I'd be worried if a player like him is a guy who has to burrow in and under and start getting contested football. But he does look pretty tough.
Yeah,
and he has shown a lot of confidence, ball in hand too, during those training sessions. So that was great to see. The other name is Ashton Moyer, who was doing a few laps while they were doing match sim. He's got the build, but I think talent-wise he's ready to rock and roll. I just don't know if the conditioning is there yet. I could be wrong, but I get the feeling, this is just my gut feel, and from what I've seen, that I think Wilson will potentially debut ahead of Moyer, but I could be wrong.
I think you're right, and I think if you look back to like Ollie Hollands and Lockie Cowan last year, there was a lot of hype around them going into opening round, and like we kind of saw it coming. There's a little bit of that hype with Billy Wilson, not as much, but that hype for Ashton Moyer is just not quite there. Like, especially with some socials coming out of the club, like we're not seeing a lot of him. And I think it's deliberate. You don't want to put too much pressure on this kid.
No, of course not.
I think he's a kid for the future, right? He's a project talent where he's got some raw ability about him, which we've seen in previous match sim from just before Christmas. But I think you're right. I think the conditioning side of it, maybe just some tactical awareness and making sure that he doesn't make some silly mistakes and just rely on his talent alone. We've got time to develop a player like that. And we don't know. The thing with Ashton Moyer is we don't know what sort of role he's going to play. He's quite dynamic. He could be a hybrid forward, could play a mid forward role, could play out of the midfield. You just don't know. So there's going to be some there's going to be some time, I think, that the club takes to find out exactly where he fits within the puzzle. I don't think we need him to debut. I don't think we need that type of player to debut just yet.
No, I don't think we do either. But the only thing I would suggest from a debut point of view is just for them to say, this is the standard you need to set. This is why we're going to debut here. Look, I don't think that will happen. I'd more like that to happen, but that's the way I'm looking at that. The other name that was out there, who did participate from the looks of it in the majority of match sim and the majority of training, was Zach Williams, who was touted or penciled in to come back during February. That's what Michael Voss said. He said the injury update from him was just basically on track, ACL, 12 to 14 months, and he's back. Does he look leaner, or am I picturing things?
You might just be picturing things. I haven't seen that. I think he looks the same.
Probably because you haven't seen him for ages. That's
yeah. No, I think, if he's up and running now, it won't surprise me to see him in opening round. I think lock him in, pencil him in. He looked confident. Like, he didn't look like he was, hesitating and whatnot. He was playing that sweeper role again, which was good because we've sort of missed that on that last line of defense. I think he plays opening round. If his conditioning's there, he plays off half back. And I think that's his spot. I don't think we're going to see him roll through the middle. I don't think there's any need. I think we've really missed that sharp ball movement and quick decision making off half back since he's come out of the squad. So he's just going to add that layer. And I think like I said on the podcast, he's a new recruit, which you loved.
That's it. There's always one, isn't there? That's been on the list that comes. But there's always a injury during preseason, and we've already had it with Jacob Wiedering. So looking at the defence, and we had a good look at it from where we were situated while we recorded our training update. There are a few people saying they don't want Sam Durden in. They want Lewis Young back in if we do look at a Wiedering replacement. But I was looking at the team and just going through a few names that they may just go with Marchbank, Kemp, and McGovern. It'd be very attacking. It'd be very ballsy, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do go and do that.
It would. It would.
But who is the man for Wiedering if they do decide to go one way or the other and say Durden or Young? Who's the man that you would prefer?
If we go based on historical performance and data, you say Young, right? Like when Wiedering went down in 2022, Young stepped up. He was a revelation down back. We thought that was a 10-year defender next to Wiedering, and then fell off a cliff last year. I think he probably does get first chance at a second crack at it, to be honest. I mean, considering we probably think Wieders is going to miss the first 2 rounds.
Yep.
Give it to him. Give it to him. And it's last chance. Like he needs to make an impression, because if he doesn't, it's like, well, what do we bring you in for? Yeah. You know, what was that we saw in 2022? Where'd that go? So I think, you know, he's a professional athlete. Yeah, he's a competitor. He knows last year wasn't the best year that he's had, and he dropped off dramatically. I think you give him his chance, he'll want to take that by the horns, mate.
You'd think so, and it's. I know Cornsey always says this as well at SEN. He says, "Don't ever get sucked into the contract year when they play well, when there's a contract on the line, and then they get the contract, and then there's the lull." So I don't know if there's a little bit of that behind it subconsciously. I would think that's not the case, but you just never know. So I think he's the one with the form on the board. But I know Aaron Hamill's a big rap for Sam Durden, and Sam Durden's had the hamstring last season, then he had the knee when he first came into the team back in 2022. So I think they will go with Sam Durden if they decide to go one way or another, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do go with Young, just given the history. But I feel they'll go with Sam Durden if they go one way. I could be wrong, but it feels that could be the way that they go. Anything else from the training update? A few people asking about Jackson Binns.
How about this one?
Let's have a look.
I've just seen this from Sandy in the chat.
Yep, I thought it was interesting. And significant that the Collingwood Spies were at training. They're running scared, that's why.
Did you see that?
I did. Justin Lepage walked by me while I was collecting my Del Verde pasta, mate.
It's bit weird. They just won the flag and they're looking at a team that they've hammered all off season. No, try and learn a couple of things. They're shit scared, mate.
I think they are. I think Laconic Supremacy's left a few comments in the chat.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
You must be. I mean, if you're up at 7:24 p.m. Monday, the 22nd of Jan, on a beautiful Melbourne day, and you're a Collingwood supporter and you are in a Carlton YouTube channel, you live a very, very sad life.
No. I wouldn't say that. I'd say that they actually probably very much secretly wish that they were born into a Carlton family, to be honest. Like that's how I see it.
Yeah. Very envied we are. We are very envied. Hey, they're running scared, mate. That's why they've celebrated as they have.
Other than that, I mean, it was stock standard at training. And I've said this the whole off season to whoever I've spoken to. We haven't added a lot of layers. Like we've brought in a couple of players like a Wilson, like a Fantasia, like a Hollands, where it's like it's a need that we needed to fill for depth purposes. But this is it. Yeah. This is now putting the polish onto a team that should be ready to contend for the next 3 to 5 years.
I love the handball drill that they have honed in on during the preseason, where they have the nets up at each end, and no one's allowed to kick from end to end. It's just got to be handball, chain, handball, chain, handball, chain, handball, change from one end to the other. It's probably about, what would you say? Is it probably about an 80-meter drill from end to end? They don't go completely end to end. It might be like an 80 to 90-meter drill, and no one is allowed to kick the ball. It has to be handball chains until you can have a shot at the net. So the one thing I think I've noticed from training from the start of preseason heading into 2024 is that the handball chains look a lot slicker and a lot more confident and a lot more nailed than what they have been, I think, in previous seasons. So that's again another layer that they need to add, that unpredictability, not just moving the ball by foot and not just moving the ball by going long, but by moving the ball as short as possible and as sharp as you can is another layer I think that they need to add into their game as well, just to add in that unpredictability.
They also they set up a little like a Rabona style small, like tight contested handball drill as well at open training, which I was keeping a very close eye on. And I was Again, I know it's only training, but I've watched this sort of stuff in previous years, and we have not looked as sharp as what we did with ball in hand in tight situations. So there's obviously a massive emphasis on adding that layer to our game, which we all know needed to come. I'm very excited to see what they do in that first preseason game against Geelong, because that's where it's going to show. And a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a preseason game." We said that last year when they didn't look sharp, and they came into the season and they were flat. So not that I put a whole lot of stock into preseason, but it does show what sort of layers you're adding and how quickly you've been able to add it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. A few people in the chat: Damien, Davey, John, Chris, Rob. They're all there. Hello to you all. Mirella, hope you're all doing well. I'm just trying to think, what else did we find out in the training update or through training? I think that might be just about it, to be honest. Did anything else really stand out to you? I don't think it was just, I think it was just more the way we moved the ball via hand, and Charlie stood out, and Billy Wilson looked good. Zach Williams back in the fold as well. Fantasia wasn't out there, and people obviously know now he had his wedding, so that was the reason for that. Harry Lemmy is a name that just got mentioned in the chat before. He's one that is now he's starting to be seen, whereas last year he wasn't. So I don't know what that's going to lead to in 2024.
I still think he's probably a year or two off. But what I will say is if we do need to call on him, just with how his body's matured in such a short period of time, I think he could get a crack, but that's he's still last resort in that forward line, right? Like he's another one for the future that you want to just let develop in the twos, and he'll get his chance. He'll get his chance.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, so that's a training update done and dusted. For those who have missed it, head over to the Blue Abroad page and you can find the training update from Friday with Joey and I. Speaking of fans, we had a good chat about this on the podcast and how it's going to all play out in 2024 with regards to just accountability and mentality, and I guess our behaviour and the way we approach wins and losses, which is, as much as people can say it's not an important part of the club, I am of the firm belief that it is one of, if not the most important part of the club. Fans set the standard. We accept what is out on the field and what's not out on the field. And it's going to be a very important part of a push for a flag in 2024 and beyond. So I guess let's expand on what we spoke about a few nights ago and the way we're going to deal with wins and losses in 2024, because for me, it's a pertinent, not issue, but it's a pertinent thing that we need to talk about.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a focus. It should be a focus all year because, historically, we've been a club that hasn't shown us as fans enough to not crack the shits, essentially.
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we did it last year. And I think rightfully so. When you lose 6 on the trot like that, as poorly as what they were playing, it is what it is. You know, something's got to give. Yeah, and that Essendon game when memberships were getting thrown off the 4th tier and scarves getting thrown on the ground, mate, something's got to give. The damn wall broke. It's where for the first time in as long as I can ever remember, coming into a season where, and you spoke about this in terms of expectation versus reality, where there's this really scary area that we might operate in where the expectation is now so high that at certain times in the season, it may not meet, like the reality of what we're seeing may not actually meet what we all think is going to happen. For me personally, we're going to go, like, there's going to be times of adversity again. You can't expect there not to be. I don't know when it's going to come. I don't know how it's going to come, but you can't expect for this team to just win 24 games, whatever it is, 23, 24 straight, and just stroll into a grand final and win the flag. There's going to be patches where we see some pretty average stuff. Pretty average stuff. And that's reality. You got to hold them to account for sure. You don't want those poor patches to lead to another 6, 7, 8 weeks of poor football. So for sure, hold the club to account. But I'm just hoping that I think as a fan base that we've learned from 2023 that unity is our defining trait at this football club. This is what is our competitive advantage, as Luke Sayers rightfully put it. That's our competitive advantage versus everyone else. There is no other team that's had the trauma that we've had. There's just not, from a football sense. Trauma is a very dramatic word to use, but
It
from
is.
a football
It might be overstated, but it's true though. It's true. It's true though.
Yeah,
I think it's true. Like mental and emotional trauma from sporting results that you're so ingrained in. It's a, you said, and I said, oh, our weekend's defined by it, and you said, no, not your weekend. 8 months of the year, and then the 4 months after as well. I think there's a good comment here. If we just scroll up, Christian actually mentioned this, and I want to expand on this. It's a question here. If we can get it up on the screen. Yeah. Do you both believe the club and fans are on the same page for the first time in years? Yeah, I do. But I can't remember the last time it has happened, because the club has backed themselves into a certain point. Then they've got rid of people that they said they were going to back in, and the fans were upset, and there was no accountability, and the results on the field and performances on the field were not equaling what we were being told. And that's why everyone was going berserk. Now, I think everyone is aligned. Everyone's adopted this new slogan, "Stronger Together."
Yep.
And for me, there would be no reason to suggest why the reality of our situation at the moment would not meet the expectation of the fan base. I think everybody is aligned with regards to where we know we can get. And now it's just about getting there and pushing them that extra step, because this core group itself and this generation of fans altogether, I'm talking, I'm talking elderly people in their 70s and 80s and a bit older, to middle age, to our age, to younger. We've never been together in a moment like this. So how we handle it is going to be of pivotal consequence to how it all plays out in 2024. That's the way I see it. And so I think there are moments in this year where we all have to strike the balance between, if a performance is poor, knowing when to maybe give them a clip or just put an arm around the shoulder. And then if a performance is brilliant, knowing when to say, okay, that's great, well done. Or, okay, great, well done, but you've still got this to move on with. And I think that's where we ended up at the end of 2023. Fantastic year, but write whatever else you need to write.
And I've seen some commentary around, settling for mediocrity was only a prelim. It's not. It's not that at all.
Yeah.
That's as much success as we have ever seen. It's as much success as the majority of this playing group has ever competed in and competed for. I'm not going to be content completely until we win a flag, multiple flags, to be honest. And I know just from some of the comments coming out of the club from the players themselves this offseason, in a few one-on-ones that we've seen on social media, they weren't happy with how it finished. They felt like they had more to give.
Yeah.
Completely unfulfilled. And that's good. That's a good spot to be in, because the worst thing you'd want is that the commentary is just, it was a great season. We're actually hearing it was a great season, but it was great to get it on track, and there's reflection on how poorly we started, making sure we don't go through that patch again, making sure that we can take another step further. The reality is, this is the longest season of AFL football any of us are ever going to experience. This is 28 or 29 weeks end to end, not including practice games. So if you include the practice games, it's about 30 weeks.
Yep.
So this is it can't be a typical season where you look at it to go, we should be able to just be reliable every single week. This is going to be, and I'm sure the club will look at this, and I'm sure we're not the only club that will look at it this way. There will be blocks within the season that we target, and there'll be blocks that we don't go as hard, and there'll be blocks where we do go as hard. We try and condition the players in different ways to make sure they can get through the season. Because I'm telling you, 30 weeks in this sort of physical a game as what it is insane. It's insane. So, I think there's just going to be times where we need to, as a fan base, just self-reflect a little bit and take a breath, pump the brakes and go, is it really worth us getting hyped up over this at the moment? or should we give it a little bit of time, give it a week or two to make sure that it's not just a little blip on the radar? Because I promise you, there will be adversity. We'll lose games that we don't think we should be losing every now and then. But I can almost, I don't even want to say it. I can say with a fair bit of certainty that I don't think we're going to go through what we went through again. I think that's in the past.
I would be shocked if that was to occur. I would be absolutely shocked. For me, in season management and load management is such a pivotal part. You've got to peak at the right time.
Which we did. Really?
Exactly.
We did. Exactly. Like, you can say what you want. They hit their straps at the absolute best time they could have.
Yeah. Which is when everyone
we probably just left a few premiership points on the table early on that didn't get us a top 4 spot. Because if we locked in that top 4 spot, there was no stopping us at that point. There was no stopping us.
And that's why Collingwood was able to set up itself well. They set themselves up through the whole season. They got their 2 home finals. They get to a granny and they get the job done on the day. And that's what we need to do. I wanted to ask as well. Now, this actually pertains to the fan base and the mentality and what it all means to everybody and how it's all going to play out in 2024. And we mentioned this on the podcast that we did. So how do we? This is the first time, as we said earlier, that we come into a season with, you would say, everybody on the same page. And we come into the season with great form. We come into the season with, we say a relatively fit list, but there's enough depth there to be able to cover certain injuries to a point, which we saw in 2023. For me, there is, and I'm looking at this and saying, well, how we deal with this is just simple. It is everybody just get behind them. And for me, it's always cooler heads prevail. And I know a lot of us didn't do that in the middle half of the year, and I think it was rightfully so to a point. But I think to nail it down now and to finalize it, I think is now everybody's on the same page. The momentum is enormous, and we bring that into 2024. And we have, and this is the point I wanted to raise, the people holding the club into account from a direct decision-making point of view, I believe have earned our trust enough to a point where we just say, you do what you have to do.
Yep.
That's how I see it.
Agree. Because we saw a very different direction when we got into an absolute pit last year. Well, we hadn't seen that direction from the club previously, where we just backed ourselves in and said, no, we're doing it our way. This is the new way we're doing things, and we're going to back it in, and you're either with us or you're not. And that was a breath of fresh air, because there was a point, especially after that Essendon game, where I just thought this. I think all of us thought this is just going to be another coaching merry-go-round, and we'll try again. And it was good. It was good to see the club back in Voss and back in the current crop, and better for it. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. It's the definition of insanity. So it was nice that it took us a while to understand that, wrap our head around it, but it was nice that we finally got there. So I'm with you. I think trust at this point, you don't trust them completely, because I don't think anyone can trust.
Well, that exactly. I was just about to expand on that. Yeah,
but we trust them more now than we ever have.
Of course. I think what I'm looking at and what I'm suggesting now is, and I'll never tell anyone how to behave. You do what you have to do, whatever way in which you think you should respond to a result. People are going to respond how they're going to respond. I'm always, cooler heads will prevail. Easier said than done, clearly. but that was proven to be correct in 2023 when the boat was rocking and the tsunamis and the waves were hitting the ship. Stability proved to be the poignant factor in the season, sticking with everybody. And the one bloke that didn't want to stick with that on the board, he got the flick, and everything turned around in that moment. So it's a big thing for me. But again, like I said, it doesn't mean that we just completely and utterly have blind faith and optimism in the people that are there, because if things are just starting to wane away a little bit, we've got to be there to bang,
of course,
smack them back into line.
Of course, can't rest on your laurels. Can't rest on the fact that we made a prelim and it's just all going to fall into place. That's not going to be the case. We need to seriously now dig in again and find that extra 1 or 2%, because that's the difference between where we got to and where we could have gotten to, is literally 1 or 2%. So, and that's hard to get. That sprint to the finish is the hardest. It's the most difficult thing to find in any organization or any industry. Is that last, that last little 10 meters in the 100-meter sprint, and that's the difference between a gold medal or a silver, essentially.
Correct.
And that takes a lot of work. So, there's no doubt in my mind that they're doing as much as they possibly can to make sure that they go an extra step. Because as competitive beasts, which is what these players are, to get to that level, you need to be as competitive a person as anyone on the planet. To almost get there would burn them. It would burn them.
Yeah.
We're content. We were content because we'd never seen it as fans, but that's why we're not out there lacing them up.
Yeah.
There's a competitive edge to a lot of these guys that just normal people like you and I don't have. And I'm telling you, it will burn them that they almost got there. So there's no doubt in my mind that they're doing everything possible to make sure they get that extra 1 or 2%.
I think we're seeing that at training as well, and we're seeing that with a lot of the club rhetoric too. Have you noticed that all the club rhetoric now is just about football?
Yep. No bullshit.
Finally.
Yep. No bullshit.
Finally.
There's one goal.
Finally.
One
we're just
goal.
Talking about football.
There's one goal. It's win a flag.
Nothing else. I don't want to hear about anything else. Even the Ampol press conference that we had when we announced our new sponsor, whatever it was, it was that at the start, and then bang, it was just straight into football. No one, everyone got their fuel vouchers and got their gift vouchers. Good on you, mate. Now we get stuck into the stuff that we need to talk about. So again, two big things happened in 2023 that are going to lead into 2024 that had never happened as part of this core group and this generation. When the boat was rocked, we held firm and we didn't make a call on the coach. We said, no, we're backing in everything here because we've never done it before. And the players were held into true account, not by back page media, by front page media. For the first time, and I think it's no shock that everything switched around when that happened. So, look, how it all plays out in 2024, we don't know, but we're very, very optimistic with how it's all going to play out. Now, the one question I wanted to ask, and this has been something that has just been floating around in my head over the last 2 weeks, and no one's ever answered this question, Joey. And I want you to answer it. I want everybody in the chat to answer it. And I want you, Joey, to have your finger on the pulse, quite literally there with your mouse. What does stronger together mean to you? What does stronger together mean to you?
Yeah.
Everyone in the chat, tell the people you're next to, share the link, share it out to whoever you need to share it to, your uncle, your auntie, your cousins, whoever. What does stronger together mean to you?
It's the complete unification of the club from top to bottom.
Yep.
For me.
Yep.
On every single layer, from CEO down to a GA member, or just anyone even just a GA ticket holder for a week that comes to a game, knowing that you're going to a Carlton game with the same principal goal in mind.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. What have we got coming through on the chat? Let's have a look. Right. Let's click through these. I reckon this is going to fire up. So for those who are just joining us, what does stronger together mean to you? Bevtone, it means being proud to be a bagger. Yeah, we like that. We like that. Christopher Lang, what's he said here? Stay together no matter how bad it gets, because the best way we can get through it is always together. Yes, like that. Collaborate to form one entity that shares a common trait.
I like that.
On this life, on you, Sammy.
I like that.
I like that. Christian, stronger together means we're all united under the one banner. We win together, we lose together, we bounce back together. I rate that. That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments about being united. I think that's very.
Josie, united. Debbie, united we stand, divided we fall. Yep, like it. Yep. Players, coaches, board, and fans all on the same page. I think we can say that for once.
Yep.
Heading into a season. Strength in numbers from Jack.
Yeah.
The opposite of divided we fall.
Yeah.
Wayne Montgomery, when we are pulling in one direction.
It's a very, very similar theme that we're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a question that needs to be answered by everyone leading into 2024. I like it. I like this a lot.
Well, we're going to open up the chat here, Paul, to finish off.
We are, mate.
Q&A.
We are. We're going to open up the chat, bit of Q&A with the audience. I know you did the. I know you and Tez were doing. Have you done your Gridley at all today?
I haven't actually.
Oh,
I don't do Gridley daily, to be honest.
Mate, so I've got a little group chat with a few mates, and we're starting to do the daily Gridley. I dominated today.
Yeah.
My rare score was what was it? 30.8. I got
30's good.
today.
30's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It was enormous. I reckon I might have to start doing I might start a Gridley podcast, I reckon.
It's a Gridley every day.
No, has anyone done a Gridley podcast?
I don't think so. It's actually not a bad idea. 10, 15-minute little snippet. It's good.
Yeah. I might start up a little snippet with the boys I'm doing it with. Oh, that's what I had to update people with as well. I don't know how updated this number is, but 76,696 members and counting is the number. So there you go. Chloe has just mentioned that this what's stronger together. It means get those membership numbers up. Let's hit 100K this year.
I think this is the most. This is the most we've had at this time of the year ever.
Okay, it wouldn't surprise me. Oh, we'll crack 100,000 easy. That's not even
for sure.
That's not even it. Do you think? And I think you mentioned this the other night. Do you think that we will get to our interstate games here? Do you think we'll get sellouts? That's what I want to see. I want to see sellouts to teams that we play in Melbourne that are interstate teams. That's what I want to see.
Like a Gold Coast or a Freo or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's tough for any team. Like I don't even think Collingwood achieved that last year when they were up and about. But if there's any team, and I said this and I believe this, Sleeping Giant, your favorite, right? There is no greater a sleeping giant than this club. And I tell you what, we get on a little bit of a run, there will be 80,000 every week wanting to go to the footy.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm looking at and saying, well, how do we, if we get that many people rocking up to training?
Do you know why? Can I just say why? Because it's not just about the club, right? And the history of the club. I look around the league, there is no team that has a top 5 or top 6 group of players that are more exciting.
Yeah. Go through them.
You want Charlie Curnow is as blockbuster as it gets. Yeah. Even if you don't like footy, you'd go to the footy and you'd enjoy watching what Charlie Curnow does every single week. Sam Walsh, future Brownlow medalist, just does it week in, week out. Cripper. Don't even need to say.
Of course.
You got Adam Chera. You got Harry Mackay, who, he's at the end of the day, he's a Coleman medalist. And you know what? Even when it's not great,
everyone's still talking about him.
It's fun to watch. Yeah. We have our top echelon of players. There is no other team in the league that has as an exciting a core group of players than that.
Yeah.
So we start getting wins on the board. There's going to be some newfound Carlton supporters along the way this year. I'm telling you. I
agree with that. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention too. Thanks for raising that. Harry Mackay, just going back to fan base mentality and accountability and how we all set up in 2024. Leave him alone.
Yep.
Let him be. Don't tell him to not snap around the body. Don't tell him to kick a drop punt. Don't tell him he should be doing this. Don't tell him to get. I don't want to. You know what I don't want. You know what I don't want to see this year. I don't want to see in the comments get Brendan Favola down to the club to help him kick. I don't want to see it.
None of
that.
Yeah.
Just leave the man alone. When he gets the ball and sets up for the snap, I don't want to hear, oh, ooh, yeah.
Also, he's gonna miss.
They all miss.
He's gonna miss. So just let's just relax. Doesn't matter how he misses, he's gonna miss. Just let him go through it. Let him do what he needs to do. If he misses and he misses poorly, it is what it is. He knows his football better than any of us. Any of us. So just leave it be.
Just leave the man alone. Let the man play his football. Let the man dominate opposition and let him do what he has to do. If he feels that he wants to snap around the body and kick it that way because that's what the stats and numbers show is a more accurate way of kicking, let him be. Because I think the more we get on his back with it, and the more he hears the size and the groans and kick of this, and get another coach down to that, it's just going to confuse him even more.
To be fair though, you can't be snapping from 45 out. That's all I'm going to say.
That's but there has. So this is where it has to be process based.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So,
but I don't think we're going to see that as much this year. I think he knows. I think he's put in. Yeah. He looks like he's putting in some serious effort. So again, and if he does, so be it. Like whatever. A game shouldn't come. A game isn't decided by one decision. You know.
Yeah. It's a multitude of decisions over a period of time, and that's what leads to an outcome. So
exactly.
For me, it's got to be process driven. It's got to be, I know on this angle at this distance, I'm going for this. At this angle at this distance, I'm going for this. Basta. That's it. Stop. Okay. So the more we get behind him, I think the better he's going to be. So just, the media, and Paul Hill said, tell the media that he's up as well. Look, the media is going to come for him because they have this way. But as long as there are more of us than there are, official media heads. So just leave him be. He's looked pretty good in training so far. And I know Terry put that beautiful set shot up of him on the socials as well.
Yeah,
just to get the sentiment up.
Amanda Wills made this comment. Yeah, so we probably do have the largest social content of any club in the league,
and we have a responsibility, mate. We have a responsibility.
It's not just that, but just on this Harry Mackay business, and then taking Paul's comment into consideration, the mainstream media, they'll do whatever they want to do. You can't stop them, but it's our responsibility and everyone's responsibility here that's watching, that we've got a platform now to combat that. We can drown out that noise, not completely, but we can offer an alternative energy and an alternative viewpoint to say, no, don't worry about that shit. They're looking for headlines. They're looking for whatever they're looking for. We know what he offers us. We know we're better with him. Leave it be. Yeah. So, hey, that's, whether you want to call that an advantage or not, we could make it an advantage, the community that we've got. So it's, Now we got 8 minutes.
We do, we do have 8 minutes.
Any questions in the chat? This is your time for a bit of Q&A.
Bit of backup of Harry here, which is good. We like that, mate. Plenty of support for the big H.
Yeah, I love it. But you ask us anything personal.
Hey, a big shout out to Jules and Dan, by the way. That little pub session we had before we recorded, mate.
Yeah, there's some things. So if you were there at the pub, there's some things that were spoken about that we can never ever speak about on camera, I reckon.
we can speak about it on camera, but we can. It's just a matter of how
audience. It's a matter of audience, I think, because
you got to pick your moments and pick your people, mate.
Few people would want it cancelled, I think. Now, Debbie's asked this one a couple of times. AGM, when is it?
I've got no idea. No, I would assume it's Feb. It has to be before the season starts. I've got absolutely no idea. I will try and dig and get an answer for you, Debbie. I'll try and find that out during the week, but I don't think there's no date that has been set.
Gather round, Paul?
Ooh, I haven't booked yet. I'm going to Brisbane for the opening round.
Someone's 30th?
Yeah, it is. It's my 30th that weekend. So we play on the Friday, and my 30th is on the Saturday. So that could be a large weekend.
I won't be going to gather round, but I might be a late shout for opening round. A very late shout.
You're definitely coming to opening round.
Well, you've tempted me with this little birthday bash, so I think that's
man. I'll tell you what, the Burley Pavilion might get a workout on Saturday afternoon. That'll be the tip.
What do you think of Fogarty going forward? What do you think of Fogarty going forward? Will his game go to another level, or will he just remain reliable and consistent? What is his ceiling, in your opinion? I actually think he is in our top 25 going into this season, to be honest. I think he's going to be in that batch of players that on any given week could be called up and on any given week could make way. Name me another player on the list that has more tackling intensity inside forward 50.
Well, none really. As soon as he came into the team, you see his tackle. I think he was averaging about 6 tackles a game when he came in.
So, at the end of the day, you need that. with this high press that we want to play and trying to force turnover in the forward half. At the end of the day, if no one else wants to step up and take that mantle, I think he gets a crack in opening round. I think he really does.
Yeah. Now Lou has just irked me here.
Lou.
Felino.
This one?
Foggy's not in best 23. What is the best 23?
Oh, this is
your... What is it? But what is it? What defines the best 23? Form, talent, opposition? Oh, God. I'm not going to get into this. I love you, Lou, but
it's a best 10. And actually, it's on our season launch for Almost Blues Brothers on Sunday, 7 p.m. on the Blue Broad YouTube channel. We're going to go through our best 10 because we're not doing best 22s anymore. It doesn't matter. After that first 10 that are picked, they're role players at the end of the day. So anyone should be able to step in and play a role.
Yeah. Can you just scroll back up? Now, there was a comment here, and I just missed it. If you scroll back up, Dieter Lehmann, it was at 7:31 p.m. If you just scroll up.
Oh, jeez.
Just scroll up.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, just put that on the screen, right? Just put that on the screen. There will be absolutely no references or any comparisons to Tottenham Hotspur and our football club whatsoever, Dieter.
No. And you know what? Even more so because Collingwood took that chant. So I'm not going there.
No, there's just no unless you want complete and utter generational failure for the next 30 years. Then by all means we can go down the Tottenham path. But until then, there will be no references nor connections between Tottenham and the Carlton Football Club. I know Ange does follow Carlton, but no, I don't want their strings attached to us.
No way.
At all.
Well, the Almost Blues Brothers changed their name to 3 Wogs and a Salami. 3 Wogs and 3 salamis, maybe, but we've got more than one salami between us.
What are we referring to there? Oh, boy. Goodness
I like this one from Sam. Should we play games at Icon Park against smaller interstate clubs? I think we missed the boat, to be honest, because we don't have the capacity there now, unfortunately. Unless they're going to redevelop those stands and make it a 40,000 seat stadium, we can't do it. We can't
never
do it.
Say never,
but we're too big. Too big.
Never say never, but I would doubt that that's going to be occurring in the next 20 years, I would assume. But look, stranger things have happened.
Just enjoy the preseason games for what they are. That's nice to get back there and cheer the boys on, but I don't think during the season it's ever going to happen again. I don't think so.
Well, it's now the AFLW hub, so that's
exactly
take precedence.
Is Dan finally going to have a season in the black on Sportsbet? No, so don't follow him. I've said this many times. He won't.
Oh no. Is he giving out more tips this year? Is he?
Always.
Oh, God, Dan, just let it go, mate.
Tyler Shaw, how do you play Elijah Hollins? Who do you take out to bring him in? He's got to earn his spot. He doesn't just come straight in.
I think it's the 4 players across that half forward area. So it's Jack Martin, it's Lockie Fogarty, it's David Cunningham, and I suppose whoever else rolls through there as well. So I think he's going to be in that mold. I do think he will play early in the season. I've liked what I've seen in training so far. And he's going to fill that half forward midfield role, I think, quite well. And he was great in the VFL grand final. I know it's VFL, but I think he's going to add another point of difference to the football team too. And I like his finishing ability. And I say finishing ability, not just kicking for goal, but the way he finishes his change is going to be an important part to our season this year.
Agree. He's got to earn his spot, but from what we've seen,
of course,
from what we've seen, he is a player that we don't have on our list. So it just depends. It depends how quickly he can integrate himself into the system, I think. Do you think we're going to see Dom Akwe at any point this season, Paul? I don't think so.
I don't want to go one way or another, but he would need to really get a wriggle on. Having said that, he's taken up a lot of responsibility at training, so I'm not going to I'm going to back him in. I'm not going to rule him out or anything like that. They've signed him up again because they clearly see something. But I wouldn't be putting a line through him. Put it that way. Put it that way.
Fair call.
Yeah. So we're almost hitting the hour mark, sir.
Yep.
And we are nearly done and dusted.
Well,
it has been an absolute pleasure. It's absolutely flown by.
Been good.
thank you to all those who have contributed via the chat. It is always a pleasure. We love you all. Thank you very much. And the question that I think I'm going to leave everybody with, just because it hasn't been answered over a period of time just yet, and you can leave your answer in the comment. What does stronger together mean to you? That's what I want everybody to answer in the chat. I'll put I know people were asking for the little Spotify link and the podcast link. You can find it on our socials. So Almost Blues Brothers on Instagram and Twitter. So if you go to your Instagram and Twitter, you'll be able to find it. If you go to my Twitter, Paul Sebastiani at PaulOseb05, PaolOseb05, you'll be able to find it. If you just Google SEN Overnight Crowd podcast or SEN Overnight Crowd, click the link on Google, you'll be able to find the link there. And what was the heading of it? I came up with the heading. What was it? He could be better than ever. Yeah, that's what it was. He could be better than ever. So find the link there. If not, I'll put it in the comment section on the socials, and you'll be able to listen to it. It goes for about an hour and a half, so it might be a nice Monday night musing after this if you're tuning into this. But Joey, thank you, sir.
Thank you. And for anyone, this is it. Carlton content is well and truly underway now. Yep. So
you boys are back. When are you back? When are you recording? What's going on with you lads?
We are back this Sunday, 6 days time, 28th of January.
Nice.
7 p.m. I believe we have locked in, and for the first time ever, we are in a studio.
That could be dangerous.
There's going to be technical difficulties, no doubt in my mind, but and we're still live. We're still going to be live. We love doing it live. We love interacting as we go. So it's still going to be a live show every week. We're just going to be in a studio, and it's going to be a little bit different. And I'm and I know the boys, Dan and Jules in particular, are very, very excited to get back into this podcast this year. So
Dan and Jules looked, they were like kids in a. They were like kids in a toy shop the other day when I saw them. I could just see how eager they were to get stuck back into it too. So I'm looking forward to what's to come in 2024.
I'll leave everyone. I'll leave everyone with a question. Do you want to see more Blues Brothers and SEN in the future? Yes or no? Might be watching.
Hey, mate, there are a few people that were asking when we posted the league, and they said, "Is this just going to be a one-off thing, or are we going to see more of it?" I just said one-off, but never say never with the eyeballs. So, hey, look, if the downloads and the numbers are what they need to be, then by all means we might see it again. So, never say never. I think. There might be more of it to come in 2024. So
just see. But it was good fun. It was good fun. Go check it out if you haven't. And you can get all the links on either of the Almost Blues Brothers Instagram or Twitter, or Paul's personal Instagram and Twitter as well.
Yes.
So it's all there.
We are done and dusted. I don't know if there's going to be a training session before the first preseason game against Geelong. If there is, come say hello. If not, I will see you all on the 22nd of Feb when we do have our first preseason game, and then the next week we'll be playing Melbourne in our official preseason game for the AFL. So, like, subscribe, comment, share the link around, and Monday Blue Broad Show will be back next week. There'll be plenty of content to see you out for the rest of the week. Have a good evening, guys. Ciao.
Go Blues.